Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and watch this. You gotta love that, and this one just cracked me up. I woke up at 5 this morning just because sometimes I just, well, I'll tell you why. I woke up at 5 this morning because every once in a while I find that gold mine video clip, and I found it last night. I'm about to show it to you, and it's a gold mine for two or three reasons, but I'll go over that in a second. So I woke up early because my mind was racing once I found it. It's kind of like the culmination of everything that we've been fighting for all these years, and it all makes sense now, and I'm going to show it to you. But this, even waking up at 5 in the morning, made me laugh out loud. This one got me. Remember, Brad Garlinghouse, Stuart Alderoty, and Trump were in a picture together. And then Michael Saylor was also in this picture that he had put out, or somebody had put out, with Eric Trump, Trump's son. So somebody had put this out. So, are Brad and Stuart in the other room with your dad? Yes, they're talking about real world use case and utility. I mean, if that picture and those words do not summarize the circus we've been living through, nothing does. All right. We've been having a pullback for 2 or 3 days now, but XRP, in my opinion, has held very strong. I mean, it hadn't, and the market itself had gotten as high as about 3.5 something trillion. It's only at 3.27, folks. In terms of I've been through all the bear markets and all the pullbacks, and in terms of pullbacks, this is like a nothing burger compared to the things I've seen before. Hold on, I'm checking a text. Okay. All right, let's move along. Now, you all remember this video. This is the video, and Cointelegraph had retweeted it. This guy, he's the CEO of Sound Planning Group, David Struczewski, claims Bank of America is doing 100% of its internal transactions on Ripple and have 83 different patents on it. Well, this fascinated me, and I retweeted it, and I said, Bank of America needs a strategic XRP reserve. But this video intrigued me because in the XRP community, we've always known that behind the scenes that Ripple had some deal with Bank of America. We've shown the patents and all this stuff, and we've seen, we uncovered this back in 2018 or 19, as I recall. Now, but this is the first guy who's ever come out and said any of this stuff, like come out on TV and said it, which makes you wonder. So I got to wondering, well, who is this guy, and how did he find out? Why is he able to go out and say this? Nobody's been going out and saying this for years. So I looked him up. His name's David Struczewski, CEO of Sound Planning Group, investment advisor, representative. Whole write-up on him. He's the CEO of this company. So I started looking around for videos of this guy. He's got tons of videos. Well, while I was looking around, and sometimes everything happens for a reason, right? While I was looking around, all of a sudden on YouTube, while I'm searching for him, it pops up that a video had been added 7 minutes before. This is the video.
Talking about another major would be Ripple, XRP. So, the SEC made this very interesting.
Oh, come on.
Against it in January of 21. Bank of America had been utilizing it for 100% of their internal transactions for approximately 2 years, and they was shut down. And so
that's something that's never been heard, folks. We knew that Bank of America was working with Ripple. It has never been heard until this guy, that for 2 years they were working with behind the scenes using Ripple and that they were shut down as a result of the SEC lawsuit.
The efficient system, the second largest coin, now is way back because of how it was regulated. And so that
Regulatory capture, ETHgate.
regulator is getting out now, Gary Gensler, and so and President Trump's met with the CEO of Ripple a couple times, and so I personally think that Ripple is being looked at by the United States as a SWIFT system alternative, as we are looking at digitizing, tokenizing, and Ripple has the ability to kind of be like the internet and be this platform that can be the guardrails of the future, where we tokenizing with HBAR and XLM and different coins like this, but it's an exciting time. I'm just looking for the application so that we can now start talking to regular folks every day, and we can say, this is how this changes your life, not just here's the technology's name.
So the two major things that came out of that is that they were using Ripple, Bank of America was, for 100% of their internal transactions. Then the SEC sues Ripple, and it shuts Bank of America down. And then the third thing we got was United States. He thinks the United States is looking at Ripple for a SWIFT system alternative. So where does that leave us? Well, first we need to remind everybody that in J.P. Morgan, this is from December 7th, 2017, before the whole shift happened where CNBC, remember around this time, CNBC, here's how you buy XRP. They'd talk about XRP. Anthony Pompliano said, if you think Bitcoin went on a tear, wait till you see Ripple XRP. And then all of that talk stopped, and all of a sudden they only started covering Bitcoin and Ethereum, just as the Bill Hinman speech was being planned, and then later Ripple gets sued by the SEC. But this is what happened. Brad Garlinghouse had said on December 7th, 2017, there are 15 senior executives from J.P. Morgan in Ripple's office this afternoon. And I tweeted this out. Who was behind ETHgate? Who is Bank of America's largest competitor? This is from Grok. Bank of America's largest competitor is J.P. Morgan Chase. This is based on multiple factors, including total assets, market cap, and breadth of services offered. J.P. Morgan Chase holds the position as the largest bank in the U.S. by total assets, and with reported assets significantly higher than those of Bank of America. Was that about to change? Anders puts this out from Bob Way on XRP chat from 2019, he thinks. On the other hand, if you look at RippleNet, you'll see Bank of America Merrill Lynch on the steering committee. It's probably a pretty good presumption that JP Morgan and Bank of America are pretty competitive. I think of JP Morgan's latest news as more of a shot across the bow towards our banks, rather than Ripple in particular. But I do think that it might cause all the RippleNet banks to pick up their pace a bit. Everyone on RippleNet wants to be seen as both a thought and execution leader. You can't be that if you're second, okay? Then there was this. Remember those emails deleted? JP Morgan Chase is fined by SEC after mistakenly deleting 47 million emails. This is the emails were dated from January 1 to April 23rd, 2018. What happened from January 1 to April 23rd, 2018? Well, January 24th is the day that Jay Clayton was at Andreessen Horowitz and then walked across or he was giving a talk, fireside chat with what's his name, the guy, the SEC committee, Joseph Grunfest. Katie Hawn sitting in the front row. The next day, Jay Clayton goes over to Andreessen Horowitz, appoints Chris Dixon. That's when they began. He said, you get me a memo. That's what what led to the Ethereum free pass speech, right? So the JP Morgan was just fined by the SEC. They just deleted 47 million emails during that time. Just to reiterate, Jay Clayton was January 24th of that year when he went to Andreessen Horowitz. And then by about March is when the safe harbor memo from Lowell Ness, Andreessen Horowitz's attorney, went, that only included ETH. And then in March 28-ish, 2018, is when the meetings at the SEC with Bill Hinman, Andreessen Horowitz, Union Square Ventures, and all these law firms were there presenting what became the Ethereum free pass. Just as a side note, This is another article on the the JP Morgan deleting the 47 million emails. And it says some of those emails were sought by subpoenas in at least a dozen regulatory investigations, the SEC order against JP Morgan Securities LLC noted. Investigations, you say? If you click on the link investigations in the article, it leads you to this. JP Morgan prepared to pay $290 million in settlement with you-know-who's victims. Okay? Then let's get back to what we're talking about. Remember this? When Ashley Prosper filed a Freedom of Information Act request to the SEC in August 2022, asking for communications, emails, letters, memos between JP Morgan and SEC 2013 to 18. And I think this was around anything mentioning Ripple and XRP, as I recall. And Ashley Prosper got the runaround, and it got to the point where she was either going to have to sue or do nothing, and I think she kind of didn't do anything after that, is my understanding. Then there was this. Remember this?
You should mention.
And before we play this, JP Morgan begins work with Ethereum before the mainnet launch. Jay Clayton initiates venture capital working group, which becomes Bitcoin ETH Hinman free pass speech. Jay Clayton sues Ripple while at the SEC. Jay Clayton leaves the SEC, joins Apollo. Christine Moy runs JP Morgan Digital Assets Division. Christine Moy leaves JP Morgan to join Apollo and to run Global Assets Division. Small world.
Of course, you're still settling in at Apollo after leaving JP Morgan.
That's right. Month 2 at Apollo from JP Morgan. But just to level set for everybody, Apollo Global Management is a $500 billion alternatives asset manager with over 30 years of experience.
Come on now.
In public and private equities, fixed income, credit, asset management, and insurance and retirement services. We've entered the digital asset space in a very unique way. On one side, looking to be a real-world practitioner of the technology, and this is kind of where my background at JP Morgan was really applicable, in terms of identifying and driving real-world use cases using blockchain technology, putting real-world assets on chain, and then also investing in the space as well, and hoping to create a flywheel where essentially the companies and protocols that we invest in will use and share our cross-asset markets expertise, helping to make those protocols and companies more successful and therefore our investments more successful. So really exciting platform. So
yeah, she's on the FTX stage, by the way. Then there was this. This is Jay Clayton.
Hello, Josh Vandegrift with Wells Fargo Bank. I'm curious to follow up on the stablecoin question. Do you see a scenario where the U.S. would come out with its own form of digital currency to replace the dollar?
You want me to do that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way that you have dollars in your wallet, cash, that's theoretically a claim back to the U.S. government. That cash. Literal cash is actually your only direct connection with the U.S. government and the dollar system. All your other dollars are through a bank at some point in the system. The question is, are we going to take those entries that are with the bank and make them directly with the Federal Reserve or some other U.S. government entity? My own view is no, for two reasons. One is, from a just political perspective, the Federal Reserve has never had really any kind of daily direct connection with U.S. citizens. And to change that would potentially be destabilizing, okay, in just how monetary policy and everything else works. More practically, the system where we have banks between citizens and the Federal Reserve works really well from two perspectives. One is regulation. It's much easier as a regulator to tell somebody else to do it than to have to do it yourself. John? Correct? Correct?
Surely, yeah.
And two, technologically. Running a central bank digital currency would be a technological lift that I don't think the Federal Reserve could handle. What you can do is you can ask Wells, JP Morgan, Bank of America to handle that. Does anybody have any idea how much money a JP Morgan spends a year on technology? 10 times that? More? maybe as much as $8 billion just on security.
Wow.
So actually decentralizing that is a great strength of our financial system. So for those many reasons, I think that a true central bank digital currency, we all have a wallet with the Fed, is unlikely to happen. Now that I said it, it's probably going to happen.
Okay, getting the picture. Then, for years, Ryan Selkis has been bashing Ripple and XRP. He took another chance to do that when the Brad Garlinghouse, Stuart Al-Roddy photo came out. He says, if you want a seat at the table in D.C., you need to be in the game with size and entities that did are helping set the agenda. This is the best case scenario, and even though I think XRP is a meme token that will he doesn't think Ethereum's a meme token, by the way, that will underperform if not crash, at least Stuart Al-Roddy's excellent. So takes another shot. Well, this kind of brings that full circle, doesn't it? Listen to this.
The whole bull run. I was fucking there. Yeah. Right? And no, I'm not even talking about consensus.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance announcement in February of that year. That to me was like the start of the bull run, because everybody that was in that room just kind of looked at each other. They're like, pretty much every major company is here.
The Enterprise Ethereum Alliance that was started by JP Morgan and Consensus.
This is going to be big for Ethereum. I bought Ether. I kind of stayed away from it. I bought Ether at that event. It went up like 75%. And then it just slowly and steadily started taking up. So this was in February of 2017.
And what was...
I wonder if he thought Ether was a meme token before he stood in that room with JP Morgan and Consensus.
Enterprise Ethereum Alliance was an initiative that was spearheaded by Consensus, and basically getting, a private implementation of Ethereum that some of the big corporates could work with. Amber Balday from JP Morgan was very closely involved, and that became a Quorum project. But there was a lot of enterprise interest, at least in experimenting with some of these private chains using Ethereum smart contracts and similar logic. But it was a tremendous group of people that came together, and ostensibly the EEA was about bridging the public-private blockchain divide, which people might not remember, but for a couple of years during the kind of bear market, everything became like, blockchain, not Bitcoin, right? And in many respects, I think like the EA kind of brought things back.
And then, of course, let's not forget, JP Morgan banked Mt. Gox as well. Here's an interesting clip with an attorney and then also Ryan Selkis.
With respect to Mt. Gox, there's not that much here that's all that unique outside of it being Bitcoin related. Bernie Madoff had his company banking at JP Morgan. JP Morgan caught on to the scam about a year before it collapsed. They pulled most of their money out of the Madoff fund, didn't tell their own account holders who were also with Madoff that they were doing that. After everything was revealed, the JP Morgan account holders who were also with Madoff, they sued JP Morgan for violating the fiduciary obligation that JP Morgan had to them, and they recovered over $2 billion in that lawsuit.
Thank you.
JP Morgan
Now listen to this story, and then I'll make a commentary.
Executives went to jail, right?
No.
The JP Morgan executives went to jail?
No.
Ryan, we have time.
I just have to comment really quickly on the insider trading thing, because I've been very public about my activity around the leak. I did sell all of my Bitcoins, and it's because otherwise I personally would have been insolvent in the period afterwards. I had no idea how long I would be able to, or how long it would be before I could legally trade again and act in good faith. Just to clarify in terms of timing, I drafted the statement regarding the leak, sold my Bitcoins, proofread the draft so that I didn't say anything that would put me at legal liability, and sent it within a 10-minute window. So I've been fully transparent, and I know some people have criticized me for that, but it literally passes the front of the newspaper test because the Wall Street Journal wrote it up.
So what he's saying there is he got, remember, this guy was JP Morgan analyst before he got into crypto. He gets an insider tip that Mount Gox, about the Mount Gox hack or something like that. And so he writes up a memo. I guess this is a CYA memo to send to the press about how there's been a hack. Sells his Bitcoin 10 minutes before. I thought, when I first heard this, I was like, wait a minute, I figured your wife would be in the other room and you would say, okay, I'm going to send the email to the press and I'm going to hit the sell button on the Bitcoin and you hit the send button on the email to the press. We'll do it at the same time. You know what I'm going to do? I'm already at 20 minutes. In DAIXRP.com, I'm going to bring this thing home and finish explaining to you what we've just witnessed. And then we're also going to talk about what the XRP chart guys are saying right now based on the pullback the last few days. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Away we go.